listening to the Almost Legal Podcast with Josh Ankesheiln.
Welcome to the Almost Legal Podcast. This is Josh Ankesheiln. I'm here with retired Chief Warrant Officer 5, Bill Ankesheiln.
How are you, Josh?
I've been doing good. Just got done umpiring. It went on forever. Like 3 extra innings, I think. It was whatever. I had a really good game. I was in my zone. It's rare that I end a game where both teams are pleased with me. Like my first game today ended on a woman saying, "You are the worst umpire in the history of umpiring. I hope your hot date's good. Oh, I hope you can't sleep." Yeah.
Extra money, though.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Like, I don't even know. Another mom from the same team came up in the umpire's room and was like, "Look, I just want to say I'm sorry. That's not all of us." And I'm like, "It's fine. I've heard a lot worse. Trust me." But yeah, how are you enjoying your retirement? Are you able to do anything extra that you haven't been able to do?
Well, I've been doing some more fishing trips.
You like fishing?
I love it. I do a fishing trip at Delacroix. Now that's turned.
Where's Delacroix?
Delacroix, Louisiana. It's at the end of the road.
Like, what do you mean by the end of the road? Like,
you drive through New Orleans, through Chalmette, Violet, and then when you reach the end of the road, literally the end of the road.
Like, you can't go any more south?
You can't go any more south. You're in the marsh.
Is it good fishing?
Yes, we do well. It started out as a long weekend trip. Now, this last trip was a week long. We had a really good time. Caught a lot of fish. Had
what kind of fish?
Time. We catch speckled trout, redfish, and we do a little crabbing while we're there. We put some crab traps down. So
that's by far my favorite fishing. Anytime, because you actually catch fish.
Yes.
Like, I feel like lake fish.
Plenty fish.
Yeah, I feel like lake fishing, like when you're going for bass, it's like hunting almost.
Oh,
like,
I know. Fish all day for 5 fish.
Yeah, it's not I give up. I'm going to take a nap on the boat and have fun, you know?
I know. I'm going to give a plug in for Delacroix, Louisiana, because the best fishing in the world. Fished a lot of places.
But you got to know the right spots, though,
That's
right?
true. I've been fishing a long time. But if I got 4 in a boat, that's 100 trout or 20 nice reds.
Guaranteed, basically?
Yes.
You catch your limits?
Yes. We have a good old time. And that's what I've been doing, fishing and, of course, enjoying the grandchildren, doing stuff around the house.
Yeah, it's baseball season.
Yes. Put a plug in for Noah 7U All-Star. They playing for the Dixie Youth State Championship this weekend.
Where's that
Madison.
at? Okay.
Yes.
Up in Huntsville.
Yes. Hopefully they win, but if not, they made it a long way. They won the region.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's good. Let's go back to your military career. You were in the Army, correct?
That's correct.
How long were you in the Army?
31 years, 10 months, and 22 days.
You act like you were counting.
It was on my retirement papers. The Army's been real good to me. It's been a real good run. Can't say I'm going to miss it, but now I won't miss all these little family activities that always come up when I'm doing military training or deploying. So it's been good.
When did you enlist? When did you enlist in the Army?
I enlisted in 1985.
1985. I wasn't born yet.
No.
What did you do?
Well, I came in the Army as a mechanic initially, and I did that for a number of years. Then I got into the logistics management phase of the maintenance operations, and you progress through the years, through the ranks.
Define logistics, because what I know about logistics, it's UPS. That's logistics.
Gotcha.
What is logistics?
Logistics gets everything from point A to point B, and that's
is that everything involved?
That's a myriad of things. Logistics covers supply, logistics, transportation, maintenance, all encompassing into logistics.
So basically keeping up with the vehicles and just the whole process of shipping one thing or moving one thing from the other, even maintenance on the vehicles that move it there? Is that
That's
logistics?
correct.
Okay.
Basically, it's taking a city from the United States, move it across the world into the middle of the desert, and set up that city with maintenance, electricity, hospitals.
So basically, that's a big thing in the Army.
Yes,
because
it
they do
is.
that so often. How many times did you serve overseas?
3. Well, I've been over to Germany, but that wasn't combat. I've been to Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iraq, but I have 3 combat tours.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm from 90 to 91.
That was the first
that was-
Saddam thing, wasn't it?
It was. I deployed over there. It was only a 6-month tour, but we took care of business rather quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to Iraq from October 2006 to January 2008.
And what were you doing there?
What we did there, I worked under Minsticky, they called it.
Minsticky?
Yes. Multinational Sustainment Command Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did was the Iraqi Army maintenance program.
Yeah.
What we did was train Iraqis how to do logistics, maintenance, basically how to, maintain their army equipment.
When y'all leave.
Correct.
Okay. So
And that's correct. We were set up to leave at a moment's notice, and they just jump right in and keep going from where we left them. Then I deployed to Afghanistan in September of 2011 to September of 2012.
Now, if I understand that correct, you were responsible for a lot more with the Afghanistan deployment.
Yes. We basically what we did in Afghanistan, the soldiers would fall in on the equipment, so we had a maintenance contract in Afghanistan that maintained the equipment, and we oversaw that. And basically, the organization I was with oversaw all the maintenance in the entire theater, and that's what I tracked.
For everything?
Yes, tracked readiness rates. We had unique equipment lists that we maintained. That was the items that we needed to keep.
How many items or how many vehicles? Rough guesstimate. I know it's probably countless.
We had a lot of stuff, but there were certain items that we had to keep up that was very important, that we needed to stay fully mission capable or at a high readiness rate.
Right.
Can't give you all the readiness rates. But,
I understand.
But there was certain equipment that we needed to win the war that needed to stay up. That's correct.
Okay. Well, I saw there's a picture of you. You were wearing this. You look like a straight stud. You had your weapon. You had the mask. And what was that mask for?
Well, unfortunately, the air that we were breathing at Bagram, Afghanistan wasn't very good. It was they had open burn pits burning, as well as cutting operations. We call it DMIL, where they demilitarize tactical equipment, mostly armored equipment that needed to be cut to certain specifications.
Okay, what is the burn pits? Like what's that? What involved burn pits?
Burn pits was basically every piece of trash, just like you put your trash out every day. They burned everything that was generated on post. That goes plastics, paper, food, TVs that didn't work anymore, batteries, dead animals, body parts, waste, medicine, everything you can imagine got thrown into this pit.
In an open fire? Or?
It was an open pit. And
how close is the burn pit to base?
Well, we were very close to it. Matter of fact, some mornings and evenings walking from our CHU, which is a container housing unit where we stayed.
A CHU?
That's what we called them. It's a nickname.
What do those look like?
It's a container.
Like you see on boats and ships and stuff?
Yes, a container stacks on top. I was in the second level, so stairs went up, and they were all connected together, made like a housing unit. But I would walk from work and back to the container unit. We called them chews.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in the mornings and evenings, it would look like we were being snowed on, and that was ashes from the burn pits.
How many they got? Like all, like whole
just one
Middle East.
One big.
No, I'm saying they just have one, or how many do we got? Every base?
Yes, but Bagram was uniquely shaped geographically because they had the Kush Hindu Mountains that surrounded Bagram.
Right.
And they had a pass open to the south going to Kabul.
Well, how does that affect anything?
Well, it would hold the smoke in.
Okay. Kind of like where we are now. The tornadoes don't really come because we're in a valley.
Right.
So it kind of sticks there.
So if you had a horseshoe-shaped mountains and you build a fire constantly in them mountains, unless the wind come in there and pushed it out of there, they would just hang there. And I would say a large percentage of the time you couldn't see those big old high mountains. And I'm talking mountains like the Rockies. They're huge. We were over a mile high on the ground at Bagram.
Dang.
If you can imagine the mountains. It was thin air too, which made it even worse when you got thin air. And then to couple the situation, we did PT, running.
Well, was there a burn schedule, or do they just burn constantly? You know how like people try to tell you to cut grass like in the evening because it's better for the atmosphere, or were they just constantly burning stuff?
They just burn constantly.
They didn't have like incinerators or whatever.
They had some incinerators set up. However, they didn't burn the trash fast enough. So they incinerated some stuff to make it look good, but the burn pits just kept going.
Were people complaining about it, or?
You know what? What's sad, some people were totally oblivious.
Who?
A lot of people were oblivious. Some people I'd ask, what do you think about why you can't see these mountains here? Oh, it's foggy. Okay. It's foggy.
You not smell it? Does it not smell like butthole?
Well, it did at first, but once you're there a little while.
Like when you live in like a paper mill town, it smells like rotten eggs at first, and you get used to it. Okay.
Yes. And you just get used to it.
Is there like effects from this? Like people like an ongoing, like a long-term effect on humans?
Yes. Well, the first few months, I kept having profuse sinus trouble, coughing, getting sick. I kept going to the doctor over and over again. I'd go to the doctor. I guess about 3 months into this, I asked and my commander, they were complaining I'm into the meetings, hacking. I wasn't the only one. They had some other people, but I seemed to be worse. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. But anyway, I went to the doctor. Finally, I said, look, you've given me every allergy medicine you can imagine. What is going on here? And he slides a piece of paper across the table, and I pick it up and I look at it, and it was an air quality statement. And it said,
he didn't want to say it out loud?
No, he just slid it across the table, didn't say anything. I picked it up, look at it, and start reading it, and I couldn't believe it. He says, that's why I don't stay here longer than 3 to 6 months.
How bad is it?
It was the worst on the planet.
Like even more, because I remember when they had the Olympics was that China?
Yes.
Is it equivalent to that or worse?
Worse. He pulled out, he opened his drawer at that time and pulled his mask out. He says, order you one of these offline.
That's the doctor who told you.
And he said, this ought to help you out. So I went back to work, ordered me one. Took about a week to come in. Got it, and I wore it outside, and my symptoms seemed to improve. But this was at 6 months at this point.
Right.
Yes. But
who ran the burn pits?
It was a contractor. I'm not sure the contractor's name. I know KBR ran some of them, and I think at Bagram it was different than KBR. Can't quite tell you what.
So did the government tell them to do it? Like, were they aware? Are they aware?
Well, this is the thing. You know, this war went on it's still going on. We still have troops in Afghanistan. This went on 15 years. And what troubles me is there's a statement of specification, a statement of work.
What's that?
That's when you do a contract with a contractor, you do a statement of work, statement of specification. That tells you detailed how you want this contractor to perform this work, whether it's a service or whether you buying a product. If you're going to buy this microphone, you want it to perform to certain standards. So the government will say, I want this thing to do this, this, and this, and it has to perform at this level. Well, whoever can produce this product would give that statement of specification, and then the government chooses it based on the price. Same thing with a service contract. The government says, I want you to burn this trash. It's that simple.
They don't have like regulations, health regulations?
They do. In the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulation, it states that in the absence of environmental law in a third world country, the United States is bound to either international environmental law or U.S. environmental law.
And are we abiding
decide,
by that?
That's my point. We've got a lot of veterans right now, like myself. I sound like I've been a 30-year smoker, but I'm not. Never smoked a day in my life. I've got upper respiratory damage, which causes bouts of bronchitis, pneumonia, which require me to use a daily inhaler, a rescue inhaler. And when those two don't work, I have to use a nebulizer, which was caused from those burn pits.
And this is a high number of people.
It's a high number of people. Some are dying, don't even know it.
And those are the people who are...
That's what bothers me. You talking people, not only did the United States, and back to what we were saying before, if the U.S. government knows that the contractor is not performing within the scope of work, it's incumbent upon the government to step in and intervene and stop them and make them do right. Instead, no, this went on 12, 15 years.
And you're saying the thing they're doing wrong is blatantly disregarding the health benefit or the health effects of what they're doing.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't see a burn pit next to the White House. You don't see a burn pit next to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no.
Or you don't see one in downtown Birmingham because it's against environmental law.
Well, if congressmen are affected, it's going to be an issue.
Well,
but if soldiers are, it's whatever.
But, the VA finally recognized my lung condition.
Mm-hmm.
They probably didn't recognize it as burn pit
That's what I was about to say. Did they?
No.
Did you try to push that?
Yes.
And did they completely disregard anything of that
They
existence?
kept it on there, and they recognized my lungs. They gave me 30% for my lungs, which, that's a good thing because it gives me some compensation.
Right.
But the point is, somebody decided that they're going to do this even though it's illegal. And it's not a few people. You got to look at the magnitude of people that was exposed. You got the local nationals, which is the Afghan people, the people indigenous to Afghanistan that lived in and around these burn pits.
Okay, what would you say exposed. The radius or the damage zone?
Everybody that lived within Bagram is seriously affected.
Right.
Because of the way it was.
The surrounding areas, how far out would be affected by this?
I'd have to look at a map, but I would say it's an area probably the size of Birmingham and the suburbs.
Damn. How big are these burn pits?
Well,
I know it's the smoke, but
is because it held it in.
So basically it's in a dome.
Yeah. Okay. See, Birmingham has mountains, but they go linear. Okay. So, But anyway, back to what I was saying. Not only is it the Afghan people, but you had hundreds of thousands over 12 to 15 years of service members that were exposed. And like I said, they had to do physical activity outside. Every soldier that spent a year there has to take a PT test, APFT, Army Physical Fitness Test, before they leave, because it's for their OER, NCR. So that's all out running outside, breathing this air.
Heavy breathing.
Then you got federal civil service employees that go in and out of that base for 6 months to a year at a time. They were all exposed.
Just breathing in poison.
Breathing it. Then you have all the joint forces from Britain, Australia, all of those were exposed. Then you got the contractors, thousands of contractors in and out that were all exposed. I won't be happy till someone goes to jail. Now, of course, it's going to be some fall guy.
I was about to say, do you think anyone will answer to it?
No. But the Senate Armed Service Committee should. I'm sure they heard about this, and I'd love to know if somebody said.
Are they going to push this off as a conspiracy theory?
No, I think it's
too far.
I think it's the modern day Agent Orange, only worse.
And Agent Orange is what in Vietnam, correct?
Yes.
And what exactly was that?
That's where they sprayed chemicals to kill the weeds.
Oh, that orange stuff. Yes. Didn't it like mutate like locals' babies and stuff?
Well, cause cancer.
No, I swear I've seen something on it, dude. They had like red dots all over them and stuff.
Well, I don't know all that.
Dude, look at it. I know what you're talking about now. That stuff, but it's not obviously.
But it causes cancer and I think maybe birth defects. But
dude, that's
not quite sure.
So that's the new Agent Orange?
Yes.
Okay.
And they say some of the candles that was in there, chemicals that were in there were similar.
Okay, go back to, you mentioned the burn pits and D-mill. What's D-mill have to do with health, whatever?
Well, what happens is when a military equipment is destroyed, we can't just leave it on the battlefield.
Why?
Because the enemy can take it, repair it, and use it against us. So especially armored vehicles. So what happens is if it's damaged where we call it code H, it can't be used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got there, we had a bunch of them. I'm not going to say how many, but we had a whole bunch of them. So we were tasked with the responsibility to plus up the cutting operations that was already going on. So we purchased 2 plasma cutters out of Germany, which that doubled the amount of cutting that could take place.
Wait, 2? Like 2 in total?
Yes, but they already had some in
okay. I thought you meant you had 2 in action for everything.
And what was good about these, they were mobile.
Right.
We could fly them out.
What do they have? I'm still confused on how they affect health.
Okay. Plasma cutting, the actual person that's cutting has to wear a rebreather.
Why?
Because if he breathed in the stuff right there, he'd die.
Oh, snap.
So he has to wear a rebreather while he's cutting so you don't breathe in the fumes. But that, as well as the burn pits, were pumping into the air.
Oh.
They should have never had cutting operations
in the same area.
Bagram because of the geographic location.
That's double dipping.
That's more chemicals being breathed.
What kind of chemicals are going?
It's bad. If
you can't breathe it, you'll die. Yeah.
Rebreathe it. Dang. It's bad. So, and they cut these into 12 by 16 pieces.
Like a whole vehicle?
Yes.
And a little cubes?
And then the Afghan recycle guy would come in and collect the metal and
go make fidget spinners with them?
Yes. He'd do whatever with the metal after we destroyed them.
So how often were they doing that? Like every day?
All day long. They went to 24 ops for a little while till we caught up. And then they went to just day.
So constantly burning hazardous materials and constantly plasma cutting stuff, putting other in a big biodome.
Yes, unfortunately so.
And the government was behind it? Well, obviously they told them, they gave them the go ahead.
Back to I'm sure that the contracting officer brought it up because it's in the FAR. I'm sure whenever we do something in the military, there's a risk assessment done. That risk assessment tells the commander, this is the possibilities. This can happen. If you do this, this person could be injured or hurt. This person could be injured or die.
But it saves us this.
Yes. But we can meet this objective, and the commander is supposed to take the best case scenario with the least loss of life. He's supposed to try and protect his troops. Now,
or make the most money.
Who made the decision to, when somebody presented the facts, well, if you burn these materials, you're going to affect the health of these many individuals. That's the point I'm making. Somebody made the decision to say, burn it anyway.
And not just one decision. How it went on for how long?
12 to 15 years. It's still going on. I'm sure. Now, when I left, they was building a new incinerators, and I don't know if they're going to put a burn pit there. But when I left in 2012, it was still burning. And what was funny is, I was watching Headline News with Robin Meade.
Who's that?
She's on Headline News.
Oh.
My deputy that was working with me, he liked to watch Headline News. So that's why I was watching Headline News. He liked to watch and I didn't really care. But up on the screen pops President Obama. And he says right there, right in the middle of our workday, there's no more burn pits in Iraq and Afghanistan. Open burn pits. When he said that, I said, I got to go. So me and my deputy jumped in my truck, right over to the burn pits. We just blew past the guard, went in and took pictures of the open burn pits burning. And I emailed them to my wife. But anyway, I just wanted to make that a record. And that's a record. You can research that on Headline News. I don't remember exactly what month that was in 2012, but I'm sure it's a permanent record. You cannot hide it. You cannot lie about it. He said there's no burn pits.
Has he came out and corrected it?
No.
So people still think there's not. Is there still burn pits right now?
I can't say that.
You haven't witnessed it. You're not there.
I'm not there. But it was burning when I left, and I had a friend that was there a year.
Do you know when he said that? Because that
was in 2012. He said that.
Okay.
And I had a friend still there in 2013. And he said it was still burning.
Well, okay, that's sketchy.
So my point is, somebody made a decision to keep burning these.
Right. I think the fact that they brought incinerators there in the first place is troubling because that means we're aware.
Right. Exactly.
Let's bring these here and kind of get people off our back kind of way. You know, it's kind of
right.
Dang.
I don't understand why they didn't just bury it. That's what we do here.
Right. You have endless amounts of desert just to bury it.
Pay the Afghan and the Iraqi government. Say, hey, look,
here's a landfill.
I understand we putting trash in your ground. Here's money.
Yeah. For ISIS to come take.
Well, no, because we would demill in the military.
I'm kidding.
Stuff. But anyway, I just don't understand. Now, there's a lawsuit going on. This is what troubles me, too.
Lawsuit going on with who or with what?
They can't sue the government.
Why?
So it's easy to sue a contractor.
Why can't you sue the government?
We can't sue the government.
I'm just curious why.
Because if you sue the government, we could bankrupt the government. You can't sue the government.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Government can give restitution, but in either case, they're suing KBR and some other contractors who run the burn pits. Their defense is, this is what the government told me to do.
Oh, so you're going to be running in circles.
And I'm sure their legal defense is bigger than that.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm sure the government's going to say something. But when it all comes down to it, they allowed it to happen for all these years. And they should have stepped in and said, stop.
So the person in charge of the ruling is the person in charge of the burn pits?
Yes, I just love to know how high that went up.
Well,
I know it had to come up in the Senate Armed Service Committee meeting. I'd love to know that. I wrote a letter in to my congressman, never get anything back.
He probably didn't want to get in that.
I'd love to know. But in either case, somebody said with the risk assessment, and I just got 1 year's air quality statement. I'm sure that was done more than the one that I have.
Oh, yeah.
So how many air quality statements showed that it was poisoning people's lungs and bodies, and then they just kept ignoring it?
I'll have to do some research. I don't know. So how big is this lawsuit, or how many people?
It's a class action lawsuit that's really big, and Congress is doing some hearings later this month.
How many people is this something you like sign up for, like saying I was affected, or you got to apply for?
They have a burn pit registry, and that's being run by the VA.
Okay, so if you're affected by it, you sign up. How many do you have a number of how many people are affected?
I wish. I'd love to find out.
Is that hundreds or thousands?
I would say it's hundreds, thousands of people that's registered for the.
Well, it's likely we're probably never gonna.
Not my lifetime.
Yeah, it's gonna run on forever. They'll put it off. People probably don't even know about it.
No, that's what struck me. Like I was saying earlier, I'd ask somebody once I found out about it and I knew I was being affected and I had my mask. I said, "Why do you think we can't see that giant mountain the size of the Rockies?"
Could you not see the smoke? Because I know it's not going to be clear
foggy.
smoke.
Not everybody. The way they had the burn pit set up, if you didn't really know about it, they had it kind of camouflaged because we had T-walls.
Mm-hmm.
And them T-walls go up like 22, 24 foot.
Kind of like in Atlanta against the...
So if you ride by, you can ride by all day. Sure, you might see the smoke if you're paying close attention.
Because I've seen, I don't know how accurate these or how credible these photos were, but I've seen apparently pictures. It's just like a hole in the ground.
It's a hole in the ground, and they
deep hole.
Yes, and they pump gasoline and
jet fuel. Don't they use jet fuel?
It's jet fuel, diesel.
What's jet fuel?
It's a cleaner version of diesel.
Oh,
a little more higher
burns.
Flash point.
Okay,
like kerosene.
Dang, that's deep. So basically, you wanting to see someone answer for these burn pits.
I do.
But the D-mill, you said that was necessary.
Yes, I didn't think it should have went on at Bagram.
Oh, you should have done that on a remote location.
It should have been done at another location that wasn't. But the problem is, too, that Afghanistan's got mountains. The Kush Hindu mountains are huge.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
They're all over.
That's why no one's been able to conquer that place.
You could have strategically placed it in an area that was more, that could get the wind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the winds that would carry
take it out and affect someone else.
Yes. Well, it's no perfect solution. You got to cut it out.
Well, at least it would disperse it and it wouldn't all be held in one location.
It wouldn't be held in a bowl.
Right.
For the people to breathe.
And continue to breathe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, guys, you don't even look into that. That's some deep stuff.
Yes. This went on in Iraq as well. I just wasn't exposed while I was in Iraq. I was embedded with the Iraqis, so I wasn't exposed like I was at Afghanistan. But it's sad. It's a sad thing that this happens. You go over there to face an enemy and you don't realize that your own government is going to poison you. And
every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't even know. It's just deep. I feel like this is going to be like the next conspiracy theory. Do you think it's going to turn into a conspiracy theory?
Well, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but if you sit back and think about it, who can gain by doing this? Not that they did it or thought it out, because I think it was a cost-saving technique.
Everything they do is everything everybody does. But that's the way the world's ran now.
Right. And then you think, okay, by doing this, is this going to run up medical expenses? I think it will.
I didn't think about that.
I think once it hits the media and everybody finds out that they were exposed, I think that's going to run medical cost up for the VA. But if you think about this, if you shorten the lives of all these service members, that's less time that they're going to collect their retirement pay. Same way with civil service employees.
So it basically cancels out the new medical bills.
Exactly. But I'm not a legal.
But you're not saying that.
Right. I'm not a lawyer.
What they're doing. But that's what you're thinking.
If they dying before they can collect their check for another 20 years.
I'm sure they didn't think about that. I don't think they even went that far with the thought process of the burn pits. I think they just went, okay, this is how much it would cost and this is how long it would take if we use incinerators. This is what we have burn pits, bam.
Burn it. They burn it twice as fast. And I'm not going to say his name, but I have a friend he was on the staff at Bagram, Afghanistan when I arrived. I our staff relieved their staff. He died a few years ago of lung failure. He had some of the similar symptoms that I'm having now, but he was a reservist and didn't have quite the medical care that I had. And unfortunately, he died. He was going to the VA. He pushed his claim till he died. They didn't recognize his claim. His wife picked it up, got a lawyer, and they recognized his lung issue
After the fact.
after he died. Now, she got his 100% VA for the rest of her life. But
Right.
it's sad that they're going to deny this, and hope it goes away. And unfortunately, we're not seeing enough of it on the media feed.
Of course not.
We need this out there.
Of course not.
To help the vets. They need this. They really do.
They're going to push their agenda. They're going to talk about North Korea or Russia because we need a public enemy. We're running out of them.
The Russians might have did this burn.
Yeah, the Russians did it.
Yes.
I'm sure there'll be something on. They'll be like, all right, this burn pit thing it's getting harder and harder to ignore. So how we handle this? Blame it on the Russians, man. North Korea and Russia combined forces to make these burn pits and poisoned our soldiers.
I think that's what happened. See, they were cutting hair. They were cutting our hair at Bagram, so they must have slipped out of the hair salon.
I'm telling you, dude.
Yes.
That's the thing.
But all joking aside, this burn pit situation needs to come to light. The people that gave the approval, I want to see them on TV in front of the camera
answering for their
saying,
crimes.
I'm sorry.
Or yeah. There's
Yes.
somebody
They'll
saying
probably never go to jail. They'll probably blame some lieutenant colonel at the lowest level. He made the decision, which I know that's not true.
and then he'll squeak out of the system in a few months. Yeah. So basically, you just want to see them acknowledge the fact, okay, we screwed up. I apologize, and we're
Yes.
going to do right by the soldiers. And
Now I'm not a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the legal ramifications, but how does these contractors get compensated?
there's no telling how much money that
How do they
contractors make.
They make a lot of money, but
That's an
who
understatement.
compensates them? Who compensates the civil service employee? See, the soldiers have VA, how measly it is, but they still got VA. They at least get something. They get some coverage,
Oh, you're talking about
payments from the VA.
you're talking about medical expenses and
Yes.
stuff. I don't know.
I guess that's for another show. We'll have to maybe get.
Yeah, I definitely want to. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it. If you like what you heard, please go to iTunes and rate and subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps the show. Also, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. On Facebook, just search Almost Legal Podcast. Twitter, it's at ALP Show 17. Also, we'll be putting out a lot of live streams, and I'll comment with you on YouTube. So you can go to Almost Legal Podcast on YouTube and have live streams, and you hit the bell icon. That way, you'll be notified every time we do go live. Be sure to follow us on social media because we'll be doing prize drawings. We'll be doing all kinds of stuff. So just go check it out. That's it. Thanks, Bill. Until next week, y'all have a good one. See y'all.
I flex with the check. I've been getting money. That's why you don't see me out often. I'm flooded. I'm not just got bricks in the closet. Did he call me? He let shots out, he lost it. Nigga try me. I have no limitation. Nigga, you talking about pussy, your fragrance. Susie the fucking no white bitch, no racist. Nigga, you comfort, but I have no patience. I'm just back to the benches, cause that shit you talking don't often offend me. Bitch, I go so hard cause I came from a penny. If I got my first Billy, swear I'm a park in the hood. Tell my little nigga, oh, what's good? Nigga, I ain't never turned Hollywood. Just niggas never show no love. Okay, so I got it up the mud.
Just be sure to subscribe. And if you have a question or request for content on the show, contact Almost Legal Podcast on Twitter or email almostlegalpodcast@gmail.com.